Welcome, everybody. We are coming live from Doola HQ, and today we will be talking through no-code solutions. And I think no-code is fascinating. I'll actually go through the story of how I got a Y Combinator application without writing a single line of code. Now, one thing I'll always add is we love the live chat. So we actually put on the stream here any questions that come in. So RH Rakib001, good initiative. Thank you. Appreciate it. The goal, though, is we want to answer your questions. So I always prepare something, which we'll dive into in terms of no code. But if anyone has specific questions, drop them here. I want to engage with the chat. We love the chat. So the very first thing, what does no code actually mean? In this day and age, you can actually build and deploy software without being an engineer. You can ship real products that real people use. And you can think of it as when you're writing code, you're dictating to a computer certain commands where the computer then knows what to run. If you can think about it, what no code is translating those commands into an interface or set of flows. Think of it as if this, then that, in a language that makes more sense. So if the user clicks this button, show this. And what's wild about some of these no code solutions today is you can use plain text. You can just say, voice to text, I want an app where mobile app, this screen, someone clicks this button, it shows this with a feed. And a no code solution can actually build that. So it's pretty wild. Now, the coolest thing here, and I've heard this in terms of the value of why engineers are so important for building businesses. Obviously, you need someone to build, but if you know how to build the solution, either you're an engineer or you know no-code solutions, the major benefit is it allows you to go from idea to build to execution instantly because you know, here's the pain point, let me build it and iterate on it and then ship it. So if that cycle is instantaneous and in your head, you can move so much faster in terms of iterating. And that's the thing which is key for any new product is you have to iterate. No product comes out the womb or comes out and is fully baked. You have to iterate. So the value of no code is it democratizes that instant iteration, which previously used to be engineers who were the only ones who could think, okay, here's the idea. Now I know how to build it and I'm going to actually go build it, to anyone who can go from idea to iteration to putting something in front of someone instantly, or the time it takes to actually prompt the no code tool. Yes, so we have a comment here. N8N, make, etc. Thank you so much, Rajan. Those are exactly these types of tools which allow you to do these if this, then that workflows. Even in LLMs like Claude or Gemini, there are these code solutions where you can actually just dictate and build apps. It's pretty wild. So let me go through some of the use cases where I think no code makes the most sense. I think anytime you're building an MVP or a minimum viable product, you can start with a prototype. And if you actually think about it, website builders today, they are no-code solutions. You're not really writing code. There's a drag and drop interface. You're grabbing a component here. You're saying, give me this component here, put this form here. That is no code. You've probably used a no-code website builder before. Most people wouldn't say build it from scratch using HTML or CSS. So that's an example. So if you're building a website, internal basic dashboards or workflows using N8N or Make, all of those things are no-code flows, and most people have used those without even realizing it's no-code. Now, I would say you can always use no code to test ideas initially. I think it's a fantastic way to get something out there. An analogy I like is you can use no code to build the skateboard. Once you realize the skateboard helps someone get from A to B, cool, now you can start to build the car with actually writing code or building it out more in depth. This is kind of like no code can help you get to the Toyota Camry, but if you want the rocket ship, you got to write code. So I think there's different analogies. Hopefully one of those resonated. Now, one thing I want to call out is I'll actually tell the story of how I built a no-code app and got into Y Combinator. I had this idea for got an interview with Y Combinator. I had this idea for a social fitness app. The idea was maybe use Strava, maybe use a different app. Why can't there be Strava for other exercise where I can coordinate with friends and say, hey, I want to go play basketball at this time. Who wants to play? Cool, let's coordinate, let's chat, let's go play, and then we can post a picture. So it's kind of like a combination of ClassPass and Instagram and Strava. I didn't know how to code. So I found this tool called Glide Apps, which allows you to build mobile apps with no code. And I actually built a full prototype. There was a feed, you could chat, you could invite friends, you could post pictures. And I spent maybe a month building the app without writing a single line of code. I shipped it, meaning I launched it on Twitter. It went viral for my standards at the time. A lot of people said, oh, that's cool. I built this no code app. But no one used it. So I had cold users coming in, trying the app, not a single person retained. And that was the wake up moment where no code allowed me to, in a month, rapidly iterate maybe it was a bit more than a month. I don't remember exactly, but it allowed me to rapidly iterate, put something out there and validate, okay, there isn't something here. Versus imagine the alternative where you hire a dev shop, you spend 3 years trying to build the perfect prototype or app, then you launch it and the same outcome happens. That is, I think, the most damaging thing, and the thing that sucks is spending all that time and realizing it didn't work. So the thing that scares most people is, what if it doesn't work? I hate to break it to you, but most things won't. Behind any success, whether it's a startup or a book, there are so many failures along the way. And I think that's the key, is how fast can you get through that process, realize that actually is part of the process. And then eventually you don't need to hit 4 home runs. You just need one. One thing has to work. So I hope that analogy resonates too. But this is what I learned, is that I wasn't upset when it didn't work. If anything, I thought, how could I have learned this faster? And no code allows you to iterate faster before spending 3 years paying thousands of dollars to a dev shop, building something and realizing it doesn't work then. Let me list some tools. Glide, Bubble, Zapier, Make, Airtable, Webflow, any no-code builder. If you kind of think about it, in some ways, Doola is like a no-code app for managing your business. The way I think about that is you can manage everything through Doola without writing code. We're kind of writing the code for you to automate these processes. But I mentioned some of those tools there. We have a comment here from Lol Trolls. I have created a SaaS. I will be publishing it approximately till end of December. Can you help me with testing it and giving me feedback? Okay, Lol Trolls, we're on the live chat now. Do you want to actually just tell me what the app is? Even if you share the link here, I'm happy. I can give you some live feedback right now. I'll pull it up on the screen. So let me know. Again, don't be shy. If you want real feedback right now, I'm more than happy to give it. This could actually be a really good example too of feedback and how others hear me giving feedback too. So if you feel comfortable, Lol Trolls, drop your link right here to your app. I'll pull it up on the screen and I'm happy to give feedback. Okay, so let me come back here to think through or talk through some of the limitations. No code can work. If it's a hair on fire problem, people won't care. And let me explain what hair on fire is. I think of this as an analogy of vitamins versus painkillers. If I break my arm and I'm in pain and the doctor gives me some painkillers, I'm not going to forget to take the painkillers because I'm in so much pain, I need to take it. But if my friend's like, oh, you should try out this vitamin E3 pill, and I forget to take it one day, you know what happens the next day? Nothing. I'm still breathing. I'm okay. I can sleep. So the vitamin's a nice to have. Yes, that doesn't mean there's benefits, but the painkiller is a need. I think of the painkiller as the hair on fire problem. So no code can work because the customer doesn't care if it's no code or code as long as it solves their problem. So if you're not solving a problem, it doesn't matter if it's no code or code. That's the most important thing, is making sure it solves a specific problem. Question here from Jalfonzi. What guardrails do you recommend for building with no-code tools, as it can get tricky once it gets complex? That's a very good question. In terms of the guardrail, okay, I'll give you 2 answers here. I do think the bar is going to continue to go up in terms of what you can do with no code. It's hard to give a prescriptive answer of when to switch from no code to code. So, Jalfonzi, I would say the guardrail here is you've got to listen and talk to customers in terms of, you've built something. Is what's blocking them from using more a feature which you can't build in no code? But is it also a feature they actually need, or are they just saying what they think you want to hear so you stop bugging them? I think that's really hard in terms of users will lie to you. You shouldn't ask your mom if your startup's a good idea because your mom will say, oh yeah, honey, it's a great idea. So I think the challenging here, Jalfonzi, is it's really case by case, but I would ask, in the no code solution, if you're building a no code, what is the thing customers are asking for? Or you think, hey, I need to build this thing to increase retention or usage. Can I do it in no code or not? And if it does require going to code, can I get someone to pay me up front or justify the need, the resources to go and deploy, hiring the engineers, spending there? And eventually you do need someone in any company who can build and sell. Build, sell, deliver. That's the way I think about it. So I hope that answers. I know it's not a clear answer, but I think it's hard to give a prescriptive exactly at this moment you shift, because the bar for what no code can do is only going to go up. And I think it really depends on the product. Okay, I want to give people some homework. Not actual homework, but I think if you're listening here, this would be fun. It's not even homework. Is, let's say you don't have any idea right now. My challenge for you is to pick and create a simple landing page using a no-code tool. So that's one thing you can do. If you don't have a landing page, find a no-code tool. There are so many. You can even ask an LLM. I like Gemini. You can ask Claude or GPT. Give me no-code tools to build a website. I want you to go try one. It'll blow your mind. Of course, Alfonso, great question. Another thing you can do, and this is where LLMs are so powerful. If you have any task which you're doing in an automated any task in a manual fashion, you can ask the LLM, hey, I'm doing this task. Voice to text, you don't even have to type. I'm doing this task. Can you please provide me with a no-code tool that can help you automate this solution? So I'll give you a couple of tools for landing pages. You can check out Framer, Webflow, or Card. For automation, check out Zapier, N8N, or Make. Someone dropped that in the chat too. And then databases, there's so much you can do with Airtable. Google Sheets now has a Gemini Copilot where you can actually ask questions there too. Final thing I'll say here is that if you are a non-technical founder, I think no-code's a superpower. It democratizes access to those who can build, and it makes it the case that, yes, there will always be a need for talented engineers. But I think, imagine a world where everyone can build. I think that's really cool because it means we can create more and we can build things that make the world a better place, more accessible, just better experiences, things that happen faster, better experiences across the board. And I think that's incredible. I think we're every decade or year we enter the golden age. I think we haven't even hit what the true golden age is going to look like, where more people are creating more things, more products, and everything we do just becomes easier and faster and better. Okay, I want to drop in the chat here. Is anyone using no-code tools today? I'm curious if anyone has favorite tools, if anyone's built a project. I'd love to hear. You can drop it in here. Tell me, like, if you have a tool, I'd love to pull it up. We can even try something live right now. And I'm also curious, I have another question for folks here, is if there are any tasks in their business which you'd like to automate with no-code, we could also try to, in real time, go through this process together and see, hey, can we prompt an LLM and try to pull up a solution to see if we can actually find automation as well. Final thing is, if you head to my YouTube, I have a video where I walk through how I actually built this no-code app, so you can check it out there. And if you're building a no-code solution, I'll just give a quick reminder that this is why we exist, so that you can focus on building. And Doola helps you form an entity in all 50 states in the US, get your business bank account so you can actually monetize your no-code app. So if anyone here is building and has questions about that part of the process, the good news is you don't need to know how to do any of that. Doola can help you with that. So we got a comment here, favorite tool, N8N, very cool. You can actually use, I've tried this in N8N. You can prompt in an LLM, how do I build a workflow in N8N, which you can put in directly. I'm going to automate my go-to-market outbound LinkedIn newsletter. Rajan, that's really cool. I would love to hear, actually, if you're comfortable sharing. For LinkedIn, do you mean content creation? So, hey, like, here's a post I want to write. And with N8M, idea to post generated to posting. So I'm curious about that. Same for the newsletter. It sounds like what you could do is, here's a concept, draft the newsletter, put it out, schedule it, send it, and then go to market outbound. I think there's so many things you could do there around email outbound or follow-ups on social, etc. So I think there's so much to do. The thing that I struggle with is how personalized some of these things can be. I do think for a lot of things, it can get you 90% of the way there, but you still want human in the loop to do a little edit or a review. Maybe 80% depends on the actual function, but I still think that's huge. Imagine if everything we do, 90% of the work can be done, which means you're turning into the editor versus the writer in so many different functions. I think that's really powerful as well. So a lot of people might think or say, oh, AI doesn't work. I put in this prompt and look, it hallucinated and put this thing out, but it still put this thing out. And historically, putting that thing out might have taken you, let's say it would have taken you 50 minutes to do in the past. You automatically have it. Now you only need to spend 10% of your time, you only spend 10 minutes of your time editing. I think that's massive. So you don't want to miss the forest for the trees. In this case, if you can get 90, 80, 70% of the way there and save time, I think that's massive. Because imagine that happening across everything you do in a business. Outbound email, LinkedIn post, newsletter, Substack. Really cool. There's so much you can do here in terms of, I think this is a great example in terms of go-to-market outbound in terms of specific areas where you can use no-code tools. So thanks for sharing that, Rajan. Okay, any other questions from folks? As a reminder, we'll cover questions each week live. You can also reach out to me directly. I'm on social. You can comment on YouTube. You can comment on any social. And if you have any questions about business, again, drop it in the chat here. We'll be back. One other note, too, is that due to the upcoming holidays, we will be taking a brief hiatus from the weekly lives and then picking up back strong in the new year. We have a comment here from Jalfonzi, shows flight trend pricing. but is using dummy data at the moment. That is cool. So if I understand, you've built something which is showing how flight prices change using dummy data. But that's neat because imagine if, and this is actually could be a cool product. Hey, I'd like to have a bot that just searches for, let's say I want to go to Barcelona, search for all Barcelona flights, and then send me an email each day with the cheapest flight, and then a direct link to book to once you find the flight. So that's one example. I'm sure maybe Jalfonso, you've done this. You could build that using no code where it's pulling, it connects to some flight source API and it's pulling in and just sends an email. What a time to be alive. Okay, that's a wrap for this week. Okay, we have one more question. Again, if questions come in, please keep them coming. Just wondering, doola or ramp, why should I use doola? We are different than ramp, but what a compliment to be in the same sentence as ramp. That's awesome. Think of doola as the cockpilot for your plane, for your business, meaning we handle all the back office, forming the LLC, helping you set up your business bank account, the bookkeeping, the tax, the analytics to make sure your business is profitable. Ramp is actually going to help you with expense management and spend. So you could connect to the two, and with doola, you have an entity. You can now apply for a business bank account and then use a solution like Ramp. So I wouldn't say it's either or. You could use doola for your LLC and then also use a tool like Ramp or another bank or spend solution. So I hope that's helpful. You could use both. We don't compete with Ramp directly. And from what I know, I don't think Ramp offers LLC formation. So I think there's a way that we could work together. Little trolls, I will share once. Once I deploy it. The idea. Oh, here we go. I'll put it on the screen. This is from Little Trolls. I will share once I deploy it, and the idea is automating outreach in short. Okay, please do share. We'll be back in the next weekly live. I mean it. Again, it could feel a little scary to have your product put on the big screen, to put it on the big screen here and have you analyze it, but I think that's the best feedback. And then I think the coolest thing is closed mouths don't get fed. So if you put this out here, other people might comment. Maybe people say, hey, I need this, or they might have feedback for you. So don't be shy in a future live. I'd love to review this and do a little teardown and give you feedback live. So Rajan, I hope this question was helpful. Again, honored to be in the same sentence as Ramp here, but I don't think it's either or. I think you can use both here. You can start your LLC with doola, will handle your entity information, bookkeeping, and tax. And then once you're setting up your bank account and you want a spend solution, you could use Ramp. Okay. And with that, thank you all. Fantastic questions as always that come in. This is one of my favorite things. People ask such thoughtful questions, and I think it's so fun this is one of the cool things about doola. I think you get to live in the future because you have people who say, I'm going to build this thing. They come to doola, they then go build it, and we were in on the secret. We got to see them say, I'm going to go do this, and then go build it before the rest of the world does. So I think that's awesome. We'll be back. Again, there's a brief hiatus coming up for the holidays, but in the interim, thank you, Rajan. I hope that's a great question again. If there are any questions whatsoever, you can always reach out. My email is arjun@doola.com, and I will see everyone in the next weekly live. Thank you all.